Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Rayno Victor channel. I just want to welcome a special guest of mine, Brother Donnie. Welcome to the studio, man. First, before we start, could you introduce yourself, tell the people who you are, and what we'll be talking about today?
Yes, so my name is Donnie Landon. I'm a transformational youth speaker. We'll be talking a little bit about how my mission is to impact over 100,000 students and educators throughout 2026. So we'll be talking about a little bit of, how to inspire kids and just, my mission overall, a little bit of my story.
So you're a speaker that speaks to youth.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. You said, what was that number again? You said 100?
My mission is to impact over 100,000 students and educators by the end of 2026.
Wow. Listen, I wanna see that happen, man, because that's 100,000 lives, right?
Absolutely.
And so, man, you changing the world. And so I just want to say this, like, as you see, you guys, obviously you'll see on the screen. Donnie, if you look right there in the camera, talk to the people, man. Tell them why is it important for us as, speakers in particular, coaches in particular, right? Business owners in particular. Why is it important for us as we're on this journey, building our craft, trying to speak to schools? Why is it important for us to get 1% better every day?
It's important to get 1% better every day because it compounds. The 1% over time, although it's 1%, your 1% can turn to 100% and 1,000% increase in your productivity and how you craft your messages and your impact to the world. So that consistency over time, although it's 1% a day, is actually triple and quadruple multiplying over the course of time.
And also, too, if you just a plug, to start the video, actually, my birthday is coming up, y'all, and I'm about to be 27. And the title of the book is literally Get 1% Better Every Day. Y'all come September 19th here in Atlanta, Georgia. It's going to be a blessing. And it's not just going to be a birthday party. We're going to have a podcast party. Actually, we're going to have some speakers on the stage speaking life over you guys. So if you come, I promise you, you will not regret it. And you get a chance to invest in yourself by reading that book. But back to the scheduled program. Man, listen, this guy right here, he a whole trip, man. He's hilarious. So I met him at the Next Level Speakers Academy conference. They had this conference, just moved to Atlanta. And I'm sitting next to this guy Donnie, man. And we were cracking up the whole time, making jokes, laughing. Man, how did you feel when we first met, man? I want to talk about that.
Well, it was the energy. So the Next Level, the energy there is just so amazing that it builds this environment of a family-like orientation. So it's natural just to talk to people that's around you because you feel comfortable because you feel like if you're here, then you're part of the family. So, just starting a conversation with you and you had your laptop and you multitasking and trying to pay attention and it was a lot. So just having somebody there to talk to that kind of understood, and we kind of hit on some notes that I think I had thoughts in my head and yeah, that was a good idea. I had thoughts of that too. So it was kind of like spot on. So it was just a natural connection. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I still actually look over those notes, man, because I heard somebody say this. They said that note takers are money makers.
Takers are money makers.
And I was like, hey, look, that's 1% better every day. Because if you in the conference, at least take some notes. And so that's why I have my laptop. And not only that, also talking to people beside me, like asking them questions. They had my favorite part too is when they had those small groups and they broke us out in sessions and they were just having us ask questions. And I think it's important for us to like ask questions because I believe that the quality of your questions will determine the quality of your life. Just to give a little bit about me. The reason why I started this phrase was because I was someone who was struggling financially. I was a mission trip photographer at the time, and I was helping the church and these nonprofits raise lots of money. But as you know, starving artists are real. You know what I'm saying? And so I was struggling. But when I was sleeping on them couches, when I was struggling, like in my mind, I would look at my bank account and be like, what am I doing? I thought if I went out here and did something positive, that it'd work out. But I had to stop myself and thank God for all the good things, right? I had to stop myself and say, yo, Rayno, your last name is Victor. You're a victor and not a victim. And what can we do? So I didn't have money to get gym memberships. So guess what I did? I was doing push-ups in my room till I got tired. I was in there doing military-style burpees. And I'm telling this to somebody right now, you may not have a gym membership, but you can ask yourself the question, what can I do every single day to get better? And so there's somebody right now who's watching this, Donnie, and they're struggling, man. I know that you speak to students. You're a man that believes in the higher power, that there's a purpose for your life. What would you say to somebody who is like struggling, you know what I'm saying? Like how they can get 1% better?
I would just say show up for yourself. I think a lot of times we don't show up for ourselves. We so dependent on others showing up for us that we don't realize that we have the power to show up for ourselves. And I feel like the more that we show up for ourselves, the more people will show up for us because they see what we're doing, they see our determination, and they're not looking at us like they're waiting on me to help them. And then when you start showing up for yourself, even if it's out of just being nosy, people want to be there and they want to be around you and see what's going on. So I think the first thing would be show up for yourself and understand that you have value, you have a purpose, and that if nobody else was in your life, you still have a purpose. And sometimes the best way to walk is to walk alone.
That's actually facts. Look, I think it sounds like he read a page in my book, man. Look, come on, man. Because that's the message and it's simple. But I want to talk about you because, man, I mean, like, look, there's a ton of speakers out here in the world, man. Like, what makes you different? Why should a school call you versus me? You know what I'm saying? Look, I'm a speaker too, but let's be honest. What's your sauce that makes you different when you go into a school?
So for me, my style is kind of like pretty raw. So I just speak from experience. Another thing that separates me from a lot of speakers, I don't speak for money. The money is good, but God has blessed me to be in a position where I can support myself without speaking. So I bring a raw truth, really relatable to a lot of kids. I have a message that can transfer kids and staff from adversity to breakthrough. So I call myself the A to B architect. So it's like from adversity to breakthrough. So I feel I got a niche. But it's not watered down. I'm really speaking truth and speaking truth to facts. And sometimes when I speak, I kind of get emotional because, I love what I'm doing and it's so impactful. And the story means so much to me and trying to help other kids. So for me, my motto is, and my catchphrase is, I am the message. So what that means is I've been through it, I've done it, so I'm walking it. So I'm the walking message of, what I've been through, what I've overcame. So for me, my marketing is as me being the brand as the message. So just having the conversations, and when people talk to me, they realize that I'm on something totally different than when you might have met me 10 years ago. So it shows the transformation, and then people can see the transformation in me, and which is that message that I bring about from the transformation.
Message is that I am the message.
When I go through my story and I'm explaining to children that you can get past this, I'm not just saying it because it's something I heard of. It's not something I saw through another family member or another child. I lived it. So I know that you can come from adversity to breakthrough and you can be great one day. So with that said, as I am the message, it's kind of like if you're religious, you speak of Jesus. Jesus is the message. He wasn't just a messenger. He was also the message. So, I'm very spiritual. So I was kind of relating, and I was thinking one day, I was like, the greatest storyteller of all time was not only the messenger, he was a message. So I kind of like piggybacked on that, and I was like, that's a good way to be. But you got to become a different person to be the message.
Yo, I'm sorry. I was just having a revelation because Myron Golden always says that it's like a 3-phase process: be, do, have. Right? In order for you to have the results that you want, first you got to go to the beginning and look at who you are. And so if you want to have the message that you want to have, first you have to be the message, then do the things that you say the message is going to be, and then of course you will have that impact. Because I think when I look at the speaking industry, I feel like there are a lot of great speakers, you know what I'm saying? But there are a few people who are not just motivational speakers, but like transformational speakers.
For me, specifically, to be the transformational youth speaker, because I was speaking in jails and prisons for a long time because I grew up with an incarcerated father. So originally, my original thought was I can go into jails and I can tell, although I wasn't a father who was incarcerated, I know what a child needs from a father who's incarcerated. So I would go in jails and I would, have a fatherhood program. I currently do have a fatherhood program, and I've probably been to 10, 15 jails this year. Yeah, so I did like a 4-jail tour down Memphis. It was 4 jails, 3 days. So we drove from Memphis, and then we went to Nashville. So as I transitioned from that part, then I said I wanted to start impacting the kids because I was also the child of an incarcerated father. And I feel like that level, I can reach kids at a different level in schools because of the story, the And it's more than just having the incarcerated father. It's the underlying issues, the abandonment, you know, the moving around and not being able to sustain relationships. It's just certain things that showed up in my life when I got older that I realized was a consequence, and you know, it's kind of like a windfall of my childhood that I never realized. Like, why is this? Am I so easy to walk away from people? Why do I not really trust people? It was all meddled in one situation, and it was just because of growing up an incarcerated child and moving from state to state. You know, it's just kind of like it gave me a lot of issues that I didn't deal with as a child. I took it out as a form of anger until, you know, circumstances and key events caused a transformation in my life. So I know what that transformation looks like.
It's those experiences. It's kind of like when you look at a tree, like people just see the tree coming out the ground, but they don't see the roots that are like deep, deep, deep in the ground. And what you just described was like those core like root experiences that lead to you changing in your own life. And it sounds like you're sharing those principles on stage to help those kids who are in that same spot.
A lot of times people trying to get the kids to change, but one of the things that I'm starting to realize is the kids, from my perspective as a child, the kids need to give themselves permission to feel. And a lot of times, you know, they hold it in because people don't want to really hear them. They feel like they're complaining. They feel like this, but no, children need to let it. The only way you can heal if you can feel it. You can't heal what you can't feel. So you have to feel it first, then you can heal it. And when you don't heal it, that's when the kids start acting out. The kids start, you know, bullying and then start doing the other stuff because it's a result of something else. They're not being heard. They're being overlooked. So that's kind of like my motto is how I went from being overlooked to the White House.
That's so cool, man. Well, you said it was adversity to
breakthrough.
Man, you remind me of my mentor. His name was Taurus Montgomery. He would actually speak to kids all the time, and I would actually go to the schools with him. Well, that's actually how I started my journey. I was being mentored by a motivational speaker. I was his cameraman. I was an assistant. And he had this book called Set on Fire, how his family, the house burned down, and they were homeless. And he always talks about how, like, the adversity led him to his destiny.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, yes, how do we go from adversity to breakthrough? And like giving those kids that keys, man, like I can see why schools bring you in, because like it's such a needed thing, especially in this generation.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff.
Sometimes people look at adversity as it's a bad thing. Like when I was young and growing up in it, I used to, like, you know, as I got older, I looked at it as if I was being like punished or like this is why me. But as I got older and I started getting more rooted in, you know, my religion, my faith, I realized that, you know, God wouldn't put more on you than He think you can handle. And those situations are going to help you be a better person as you got older. So it's better as looking back, I'm glad I went through those adversities back then, and at the worst part of my life back then, instead of trying to go through them now. So now I really know how to handle them because I've already been through like some of the toughest moments in my life.
Man, Donnie, man, that was super insightful. Man, you a wise man, bro. And I appreciate you sharing that because, you know, everybody has their own experiences, or I have mine, you have yours. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know what it's like to feel that pain of having a father that's incarcerated, or for some of you having a mother that's incarcerated. Both of y'all parents are incarcerated. I think there's like a stat that says like if your parents are incarcerated, your chance, I forgot the exact number. Like it's like they go up higher, right?
It's definitely a lot higher. Yeah, you got like a 1 in 5 chance. Yeah, so it's pretty high. So to beat those odds is like a major accomplishment just for. I know a lot of people whose parents were incarcerated and they repeated the cycle. So I have brothers. All my brothers have been incarcerated. So it was a time where my father got incarcerated. When my father got incarcerated, my cousins got incarcerated. My aunts got incarcerated. My uncles, all of them was on the same case. So soon after that, my brother got incarcerated. So he did 16 years, and my cousin I grew up with, we walked the same stage in high school. This is what I tell kids about decision making. So when I was younger, I got in some trouble. You know, of course, went to court. So that court moment kind of changed my life, and we can discuss that as well. But as a result of that court situation, I elected to go into the military. So at the time, I told my cousin at the time that we can go in together because they had a buddy program. So this is what I tell people and children about decision makings. My cousin decided not to go into the military. I decided to go into the military. and I transformed my life. My cousin, by the time I got to my first duty station, received 30 years in jail. So that's the decision. That's just the choices you make. We graduated the same stage, the exact same stage, got a diploma at the exact same time. A few years later, I made a decision. He made a decision not to do it, and he got 30 years, and I transformed my life.
That's real. And a part of the reason why I also champion the idea of get 1% better every day is because I think it's also the idea of just making like one better decision every day.
That's true.
And what you said is like, look, we both are in high school. We're at this point, and then there's a deviation in your decision. One person is going this way, the other person going that way. Both of us, our families are similar dynamic, right? Mm-hmm. And so my question for you is like, to those kids, I want you to speak to that camera and speak to those kids, or even speak to the child that's in some of the broken adults who have parents who've been incarcerated, been hurt. Like, what can they do right now? Like, give me something actionable that I can do. Like you said, like you've experienced this in your story. What can I do to get better every day?
Okay, so I would recommend just, like I said, give yourself permission to feel. A lot of us, especially as men, we feel like we can't feel because the world calls it something that's like soft. Like you're not allowed to hurt. You're not allowed to. It's okay not to be okay, but society makes it seem like if you're complaining that you're not okay, then you're a complainer, then you're a whiner, you're not macho, you're not. So what we need to do is we need to embrace each other, and then we need to really have a honest assessment of ourselves. We need to reflect. So one of the things that I did when I really started transformation was I reflected. I had to reflect on all the way back to the beginning of my childhood, and one thing I realized was growing up, my father was in a lot of different situations. So I grew up in D.C. Because of some of the stuff my father did in the streets. We had to move to Texas. Then we had to move to Virginia. So as I self-reflected, I realized that those were some of the problems that I was having as an adult. They actually resulted coming from childhood, from moving from 3 different schools, 3 different sets of friends that I had to leave. It's just a lot going on where you don't get a chance to actually be a child. You grow friends, you have friends, you get to know your friends, and then you leave. So if you start repeating that habit, then in life it's just hard to get attached to people emotionally. So I used to always wonder, like if I have a girlfriend or something and we break up, it's like I broke up, I just don't talk to you ever again. Because it's just that easy for me because my life is that's how my life has been all my life, losing people. So I would say just the self-assessment, self-assess yourself. And once you self-assess yourself, then you got to start believing in yourself. So you really got to start believing that you can change. You got to start, doing the affirmations. I can change. Start reading books. And, start just transformation your life. Get better 1% every day.
Man, I swear he read my book, y'all. Look, he's preaching my sermon right now, man. Because I think that even though, like I said, I didn't have the parents that were incarcerated. My parents, they were immigrants. They came from Haiti, and we grew up working on the farms, man. Literally, like cleaning cow poop, picking fruit off the vine. It was dirt all day, every day in the sun and the heat during the Georgia summers. And I just remember thinking to myself, like as a kid, I just want to have a normal job, like with AC. Like I was just trying to graduate. Like it wasn't even like our parents were forcing us, pushing us. We were motivated. I'm watching my mama sweat and break her back. Like it's very, for me, as a child, I was thinking that way. But it makes sense because if you're going through a certain adversity, I think, like you said, I relate to the idea what you said is you kind of grow up a little bit faster than other kids because you're aware of certain realities, or other kids are having fun, they're going to Six Flags or whatever, doing their thing. You're realizing like, dang, like, look at my parents, look at our situation. So I can't relate to your adversity, but I know, and some of you watching this may be like, my parents weren't incarcerated. I can't relate to that. Like, hey, my life was good. My mom and dad actually doing really good. I love them. But you still have your own adversities because we're in this thing called life and no one is safe from it. So this message, I think, is a universal message. Even if your marriage is great, you can still get 1% better, right?
And being married 15 years, there's no marriage that does not have adversity. I should be a marriage counselor. Yeah. That's a growing market there.
Hey, that's true though, because those same principles apply to a marriage. Adversity to breakthrough.
Adversity to breakthrough, because your marriage, you're going to go through something. There's no matter what you see on the outside or the people you say they have a great marriage. I've yet to see a marriage that didn't have any adversity ever within it.
That's real. That's real. Now there is degrees to adversity. Like when I look at certain families, like some families are toxically adverse. They're like it's so adverse. You can't even breathe, bro. Like folks literally throwing hands on each other. And then we have some family where it's like, some squeamishes and squabbles going on. But at the end of the day, they still know how to come together and do this thing called conflict resolution. And actually, I think people think that having conflict or disagreements is a problem. I actually think that's not the problem. If you have a brain, Donnie, right, and I have a brain, Rayno at some point is not going to agree with you. I agree. But we have to learn how to have conflict resolution skills, saying Donnie's not the problem. The problem is the problem. Now, look, I ain't married yet, but I know that wrestling with my siblings.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's the blame part, because when people are so often, so what I've learned to do is when I start getting a conversation like that, is to like trying to seek for understanding and first point out where I may have went wrong, especially in marriages. So I've learned that over the years. So it helped me understand so I can do better, or I can be a better person in this situation. Where, other hand, I might be like, I don't like when you X, Y, and Z, but it's not. That's kind of sound like blaming. But if you shift it towards yourself, and then say maybe it's me, and then how can I make this situation better? And then it requires them to think about what part they played. So if anybody who's reasonably a authentic human being is going to point out their faults as well.
Yeah. And that, I like what you said, taking accountability, but most importantly, and this is actually what it means to be a victor. I swear he read my book. To be a victor and not a victim ultimately ties to you being someone who's responsible.
Absolutely.
So I think, yes, and I'm going to say this too, whether it's relationships, whether it's life. I heard a preacher say this one time. He said, you either in a problem, headed toward a problem, or leaving a problem. Absolutely. And life is filled with problems, man. And so it's like, as we're going through this adversity, I have to ask myself, like, how can I get 1% better at being responsible? How can I get better at being intentional of controlling what I control? And here's what I mean by responsible. Listen, guys, some of you guys' parents have been incarcerated. Bad things have happened to you. Look, I'm not going to go into that, but those things are not your fault. Okay? Well, when Rayno says being responsible, I'm not saying blame yourself for what somebody else did wrong to you. We're not even going to try to rationalize what the devil is trying to do to us. But what we will do is ask ourselves, what can I do today to control what I can control? That's what I mean by taking responsibility. Like, for instance, you mentioned the husband-wife example. Or I'm thinking about my sister, because sometimes I feel like emotionally, sometimes our family members, they can metaphorically step on our toes, and then we get mad, and then we want to lash out on them. But at the same time, we do the same thing to them. So I'm saying this to say, like, in life, it's like that. Sometimes life will punch you in the face. But what are you going to do to be responsible for not just, like, making it worse than it actually is? Does that make sense, though?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I tell people, I tell kids, like, you can't pick your zip code. You can't pick your parents. You can't pick where you live at. But you can pick to own your story and to change the narrative. So even with all of at some point, you have to make a decision. You have to grow up and be responsible. So you have to actually own your story and then rewrite the narrative. So for me, I own my story, and then I say, I deserve better, at some point. So, I just transitioned. So my pivotal moment, just to go back to it, was in the courtroom. So I had gotten in trouble, and I found myself in front of the judge. But it wasn't the judge that was the sentence for me. It was looking over at my mother and her crying. And so her tears were the same tears I seen as a child when my father was incarcerated. So I made a vow to myself that day that I would never be the cause of my mother's hurt again. So that transitioned me into going to the military. That's how I got there. I eventually got out of the military. I got in the government. I earned my degree in business management. I have a master's in national intelligence. And I served as the chief of staff for the president's daily brief, where I coordinated daily intelligence for the president of the United States. So for me saying I'm the message, I'm saying that because I've been the child who was doing the drugs, who was robbing, who was smoking weed, who was doing everything wrong. And and that one moment of seeing the hurt in my mother's face totally transformed my life. So I know it's possible, and that was done within within a courtroom session. So my whole life changed. So for me to talk to kids and talk to people, and they always complain about this and that, they have to own their message. They have to own their story, and they have to become a different version of themselves. So you gotta, like I tell the children, you gotta understand and appreciate the person that you want to be, because you owe it to them.
Man, literally, that was something I said to myself too, even when I was in my lowest of lows. Now, I will say this. I feel like after graduating from high school, I did end up getting the opportunity to mentor underneath my motivational speaker mentor. But, like, I didn't grow up with my dad in the house. And so one of the things I said to myself was that I would become the man that I didn't have growing up. And so it's like, I knew who my dad was. Like, he wasn't incarcerated. He was a normal 9-to-5 worker. But still in my mind, like, we grew up so poor, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted to be successful, right? And so I'm in this situation years later, trying to start my photography business, trying to get things off the ground. And it's hard when you're a first generational college student, first generation entrepreneur. And even for you, shout out to this guy, because could you imagine he's working for the president, but he's a child of a prisoner, right? He's a child of someone who was incarcerated. Like, statistically, he is somebody who broke the odds, and you can too. But I want to say this, that the reality is, how can I become the man that I didn't have growing up? And you did that. Like, so I want to ask you the question in the context of getting 1% better every day. When you're speaking to these kids, why is it so important to tell the kid, like, you have to become the adult that you want to be right now? Like, why is it important for them to sit and think about that?
Because this is the best time to get, to get locked into their mindset. Because if I would have had someone come to speak to me and that it was relatable, because you have to be relatable with one, that kind of went through a story or went through a path or went to some adversity, it wouldn't have to, like, don't have to be like a incarcerated father, but they just showed a path where they changed their life, and it kind of hit me, and I would have probably been a different person, because I would have been thinking like, oh man, it's possible. Because with a lot of things, especially if you're growing up in certain environments, it's not that you don't think, you just don't know. You don't know that it's possible because you don't see it. Like, if you grow up in certain families where, everybody's incarcerated, everybody's selling drugs, you don't see that there's a job that can pay you $150,000 a year. It's certain things you don't see. So in your mindset, you're like, I guess I'm gonna be a victim. I guess I'm gonna go down the same path for my family. But for me, that 1%, getting better every day is more so as I've getting older and more mature and self-development, it's more getting the 1% mentally. So that mental 1% every day, that mental tenacity, that mental grit that's coming every day, going through that, that's every day you're getting stronger mentally. Like, for kids that you as a child, you're in school, when they say, come on, let's go smoke, mentally now, the first day you might be like, oh man, I got something to do for my mother, because you won't want to be around her. So you're making excuses. And then after a while, you build up the courage. Now you got the grit. You're like, no, that's not what I want to do. And then you start standing on your own too. And then now you got that, that self-agency that the kids needs in school, so it's a process.
Yeah. Literally, no. If you listen, man, I don't condone lying. But hey, look, God gonna meet you where you are, right? If as long as you get out your situation. Now look, I know this morally it's a mixed message here, but I want to say this: I think you are right. As long as you're getting 1% better, you're right. You gonna get the strength to be like, nah, bro, man. Look, you can call me a chicken, you can call me lame, bro. I'm trying to graduate, man. Bump all this, or like you said, I'm gonna deviate from the path that was laid out before me, and it's unfortunate though, but I'm excited because kids get to see people like you, hear stories like yours, and even mine. Like, I know I'm very young myself. I'm still got a lot to learn. I feel like I got a lot to learn from people like you, man.
But here listening, even like the father not being, all that is. I mean, would you rather a father not be there or a father be there and be incarcerated? So it's a lot of different ways you can look at it. You know what I'm saying? Now, my father wasn't a bad father. He just wasn't there. He wasn't, he wasn't the greatest either, but but he was around, but so would you rather have him around and be in the streets and doing wrong, or you rather not have him around at all? So both of them have their own, their own hurt that comes with that, and their own healing phase that comes with that. So I wouldn't discredit the fact that he wasn't just incarcerated, because, every son needs a father to raise them,
And no knock to my dad. He's a good guy. It just him and my mom, they had their own issues. I ain't gonna put their business out. But the reality is that everybody has problems, as I said. And so my question to myself was, even when I was going through my situation, I could have easily gave up along the way. Spent a lot of money going into business. Cameras are not cheap, right? Right. This stuff, we got here. And I've been able to do a lot. Like I've been able to be a blessing to the church. Like we've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for ministries, doing donation projects, nonprofit initiatives. And so I'll say this. What are some of the things that you're looking forward to as you're continuing this journey? Because I can tell you, to be honest, I'm looking forward to building a multimedia empire here in Atlanta. I just moved here recently, as you know, and I got this book, but I want to create content that's positive, that leaves this world better than I found it. And of course, you're a part of the process by coming on the podcast right now.
I appreciate being here.
But what are you looking forward to, man, as you get 1% better every day?
What I'm looking forward to is, what I really like, my end goal is I want to have like a globally mentorship program for kids. So it would be it would have to be online, of course. But I would love a global mentorship program where I would, have mentorship sessions, like bi-weekly. And it would be encompassed, like, as I go to all these schools and globally, and impact lives, I can get them all on one call. So one thing that growing up when I was young, I didn't see was other kids and how they're living. Because let's say you're in D.C., Maryland, or Virginia, you might feel like we're the only ones struggling. They don't know somebody, a kid in Memphis is doing just as bad, or, a kid in Nashville or Tennessee. But if you can get all those kids together and they can learn from each other and start impacting each other, I think that'll be powerful.
That's real powerful. Come on, let's build community. So, guys, I think we're going to end here. And I just want to say, Donnie, thank you so much, man, for being on the pod. Man, you a blessing, man. Even when we were at the conference, man, it's just you and your wife, man. Shout out to your wife, man. Look, if you watching this, you're an amazing human. And you have a great husband, because, like, honestly, y'all just poured into me in a way that I needed to hear everything I had to say. And I pray that God continue to bless you so we can make this dream a reality. So, look, out here watching, look, if y'all got some resources you want to support, how can somebody support you, follow you? Tell us your social media handles and everything like that.
Absolutely. So on Instagram, I am the message. So I think I'm the only I am the message. But if you type in Donnie Landon, I'm pretty much I feel like I'm the only Donnie Landon in the world. Or you can just go to the easiest way is just go to my website. It's pretty easy, DonnieLandon.com.
And how do I spell Donnie?
DONN, good question, because it could be a Y. DONNIE, Landon, LANDON.com. And it kind of gives an overview of my story. You can read up on that and you can book a meeting and all that good stuff.
Okay, good. Well, thank you, Donnie. Man, this brother right here, man, he the real deal. And so as I said, look, September 19th. All right, look. Be there, all right?
I want a signed copy.
I got you.
All right, I promise you. And I'm going to come here to get it.
You going to be here?
Yeah, I'm going
to come. Let's
go.
I'm
going to come here to get it. As long as I'm not on trial, I'm come support.
Okay, good,
but
man. I appreciate
reserve
that.
Me a signed copy.
Hey, look, it's documented. Y'all heard him. He said he going to be there. Look, we're
Absolutely.
looking for him.
I'll be there.
Hey, y'all, look, thank you so much again for being here and enduring through this long conversation. I know, look, some of y'all like, man, Rayno, these videos getting long. But look, I pray that this video left you 1% better than we found you, all right? We'll see y'all later, all right? Peace.